Hi guys, my name is Liam. Welcome back to Apophis Sticker Reviews, and you're watching the first cigar episode on this channel. Yeah, as you can see, there's a bit of a change of scenery. I'm sitting here in the lounge in my backyard, and we're gonna smoke the Placencia 151 Consecha La Musica, which is basically their name for their robusto size of the 151st Consecha. 151 standing for the 151st harvest of their tobacco leaves in that year, and Placencia always makes a very special range when they have a good harvest and put the number of the harvest on their cigars. It's a bit more premium, the box is a bit more premium, better presentation overall, but a very nice cigar. We're gonna smoke this baby, and we're gonna talk about my experience as a cigar smoker, why I smoke cigars in the first place. I'm gonna talk about the countries, what you gotta know about cigars, tips and tricks, do's and don'ts, whether you're smoking a cigar at home or whether you're smoking a cigar in public, do's and don'ts, what people kind of expect from you or not expect from you, and yeah, just enjoy a nice cigar while talking about cigars. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to my channel, of course, my name is Liam, also known as Apophis. I'm 22 years old, turning 23 in June, and I do technology reviews, luxury item reviews, and watch reviews. So before we start this video and before we light up the cigar, quick wristwatch check. I'm of course wearing the Rolex Paul Newman Daytona in yellow gold, the 116508, beautiful watch, of course. So yeah, let's get into the cigar lighting right now. Alright, lighting up a cigar is very easy. You pick the cigar out of the cellophane. The thing is with, and this is the first point I'm gonna talk about. If you don't have a humidor at home, or if you're just starting out and you don't want to spend $500, $600, $700 on a humidor, I totally understand. It's quite a big investment. It's kind of like the watch wonder from Rubes that I have in my room as well. You don't buy these things if you don't have an established collection. If you're just starting out, you don't have to buy all these things. But there are, portable cigar humidors that you can buy for 70 to 80 bucks that still do the job and have a limited space for maybe 20 or 30 cigars. So for people who are just starting out, it is a very good alternative. So as you can see, this is a parejo or a straight cigar. This is the most common shape that you will find in most cigar portfolios. One of the other shapes that I do love, I'm not gonna smoke this one, but this is the Flor de Oliva Nicaraguan blend. This is a more affordable cigar, starting at about $8 per piece, or $6 to $8 per piece. So a entry-level cigar, but I smoke between 1 to 3 cigars per day, so sometimes you don't always want to smoke 15, 20 bucks and all the way. These things are for very special occasions, and these things are for everyday use, right? But this is a torpedo shape. As you can see, the cigar cap is formed in a point, and it allows the flavors to, I believe it's personal experience, but to widen more in the mouth. While a straight cigar will always have more airflow coming in and will give you a wider palate. But of course, you can find, cigars from many different factories and many different series in all shapes and forms. This is just one of them, robusto. Robusto standing for thick and small. You have, of course, a double Corona, normal Corona, etc., etc., etc. With figurados, this is actually the term that we call with irregular shapes, is torpedo, perfecto, etc. All the weird forms and shapes that you sometimes see when you're walking into your local cigar shop or cigar lounge. You kind of sometimes see cigars that are wrapped with two together, or it's basically the brand experimenting with what they can do and showing off that they can make something interesting besides the classic cigar shape. So Placencia 151 Consecha. Let's light this baby up right now. So first of all, we can see that the cigar has a round cap, so this is indeed a parejo, and you actually smoke it in 3 stages. We have the first stage. If you remove the band, there we go. You have the first stage of the cigar until the, of course, band, and then of course you have the second stage and the third stage. Basically, with a cigar, it's misconception that if you don't smoke, or if you don't smoke the whole cigar, you have to put it out. No, actually not. Many people cut them. I don't recommend cutting them because a lit up cigar is gonna soften over time and it's gonna dull the blade of your cigar cutter. So if you wanna stop smoking your cigar, if you haven't had enough, just let it sit in the ashtray and let it dive out quick, on its own, basically. So never, smash the cigar into your ashtray or anything like you do a cigarette, because that's gonna enhance the bad flavors and the smell that comes out of the cigar. A cigar is very fragile and very different in comparison to a cigarette. So don't treat a cigar as a cigarette. Anyways, so I'm gonna use the V-Cut for this cigar. This is of course my St. DuPont chromatic cutter, $190. Of course, you don't have to spend $190 on a cigar cutter if you don't want to. You can buy a decent cigar cutter for about $30-40. But if you're just starting out or rarely smoke a cigar, you might just want to buy a standard cigar cutter for like $10 to $20. It's just gonna do the same job, but of course, if you smoke on a regular basis, you want something nicer. So anyways, let's cut this beautiful cigar and let's talk about how to light them. There we go. Perfect. Beautiful V-cut right there. I enjoy the V-cut because I feel like the airflow is more balanced and a little bit thinner, right? So once the air flows into the mouth, it is a much more tasteful experience, but this is personally my opinion. If you might do that, you might find it a different way. So there is no right or wrong way to, cut or, smoke a cigar in general, except for, cutting the whole cap off. Never do that, please. Ladies and gentlemen, with the cap of the cigar, it basically keeps the wrapper from unraveling, right? So if you cut, an inch off of your cigar, it's gonna unravel and it's not gonna be a good experience. So anyways, so what you kind of gotta do is first toast the cigar. Make sure that, cigar is evenly lit. You kind of got to turn the cigar a bit. Why this is so important is if the cigar is lit unevenly, then it won't be the same premium smoke experience. So no matter how expensive the cigar is, you kind of want that toast. And then after that's toast, you kind of puff on it. That's perfect. Anyways. Alright, let's talk cigars, ladies and gentlemen. So that's basically the first ritual of enjoying a nice cigar, the lighting process. This is what I love about a cigar. And this is something you gotta take your time for. And never rush a cigar, ladies and gentlemen. A cigar is not meant to be savored over 15 minutes. We usually smoke a cigar for about, 30 to 45 minutes, and that's already a bit rushing it. But take your time, right? Never lit up a cigar if you don't have time. I can taste notes of walnut. That's the first thing I noticed. And caramel, a very sweet texture. Of course, this is a sun-grown Honduras puro, which means Honduras wrapper, Honduras binder, and Honduras filler. That's what we call in the industry a puro. You also have blends, like Oliva does, right? Oliva also has puros, but usually they're blends, like the Oliva V Millennial blend or the Oliva O blend. And what blends allow you to do is blend more interesting flavors into a cigar without having to overly price the cigar, right? This is one of my favorites. This is a Florida Oliva, which is a entry-level cigar. I smoke about you know, 1 to 2 to 3 cigars per day, you're not always gonna, you know, smoke a $15 to $20 cigar. Cigars here in Belgium are crazy expensive, more expensive than around the world, because of course the health thing here in Belgium, the taxes that we pay on cigars and tobacco products in general is quite high. So this is definitely a niche and luxury product. But, you know, in the world of cigars, there is something for everyone. And the Flor de Oliva is one of those premium handmade Nicaraguan cigars. Of course, it's a blend, it's not a puro, but a very nice smoke. And if you're first starting out, this one you can pick up for about $6 to $8 per piece. You can buy them singly, or you can buy them with a box. I always recommend buying a box if you have a humidor at home. Reason why? Because it's more affordable. But if you don't, just buy the singles. Or if you don't smoke on a regular basis, buy a single. But in general, cigars are more about enjoying a momentous occasion or just relaxing after a long weekday, and really taking your time, right? What countries do produce cigars? What countries do produce cigars? Well, the most known countries that are into the cigar business for many, many decades are Nicaragua, Honduras, of course we have Dominican Republic, Cuba, and the United States. But, you know, the United States cigars aren't as well known as all the 4 other countries that I talked about. What is my favorite cigar brand? Yeah, let's talk about that. My favorite cigar brand, price quality wise, has to be Rocky Patel. Rocky Patel is also a cigar manufacturer with many, many decades of experience. Also catering a bit more to the high-end category of cigars, so starting at about $12 all the way up to 20, 30, 40 bucks. I've smoked a lot of Rocky Patels. I've smoked the Rocky Patel the Devil, I've smoked Rocky Patel 60, I've smoked Rocky Patel Connecticut, I've smoked Rocky Patel Vintage 1992, all beautiful and totally unique cigars in general. And this is what I mean with getting into the hobby. Try different things, right? I remember my first cigar, that was a Cohiba Sliglo 4 or Sliglo 5, I believe, I'm not sure, but it was a Cohiba, and everyone goes with Cohiba these days. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't have anything against Cohiba, but it's kind of like champagne, right? Everyone knows Dom Perignon, right? It's the most celebrated vintage champagne brand in the world, from Moet Chandon, of course, and still is a very quality product. But of course, you're also paying a bit for the name as well. Cohiba is a very prestigious house, so you're always paying a bit more than your average Cuban cigar, like Bolivar or Bertagas. Very nice Cuban cigar brands, or Hoyo de Montanari, one of my favorites actually from Cuba. The Epicure number 2, by the way, very, very nice cigar, very complex actually. You know, this is what every man needs if you have the budget, of course, because of course cigars are expensive, but it's just something very, very nice. And the reason why I'm holding it like this is because I'm respecting the handcraft rolled cigar. Many people hold them like this. That's also fine, but it's not, you know, a pen. It's not a drawing crayon or something like that. It is a cigar. So every premium cigar is usually hand rolled. There are, of course, cigars that are machine made, but they're usually less expensive, coming about $2 to $3 per piece. But it's not the same experience, right? And with cigars, it is usually a better experience the more high-end you go, right? So a, well, $8 cigar is not gonna smoke like a $15 or $20 cigar, and $20 cigar is not gonna smoke like a $30 cigar. But once you approach the 30, 40, 50, 60, you're not gonna notice that major of a difference, right? You're gonna notice small nuances. But it's kind of the same thing with watches, right? Kind of, you know, that an AP has more detail and is better crafted than a Rolex, right? It's kind of that same thing. So for those people who don't smoke regularly and want to get into cigars, start something simple. That's something simple. Start with a connected cut, because usually connected cuts are used to smoke with coffee in the morning, and are usually less medium to full body. Yeah, right. This is a medium to full bodied cigar. Actually, kinda more to the full body side. It has some weight to it. So if you haven't eaten, don't smoke this or a Perdomo or anything a bit more heavy, right? Full bodied, medium bodied to full bodied cigars are really for relaxing in the afternoon or in the morning after eating, after doing a couple of stuff first, and then you can enjoy a nice cigar. I've talked about the time, right? I've talked about never smoke a cigar quickly. And I used to do that as well, right? So usually when I had my break, I lit up a cigar and I had to smoke that thing in an hour. Very, very difficult. And I notice now I don't smoke cigars at work anymore, but I smoke them at home, or I smoke them in the city when I'm talking with friends or going out. When I have like 1 to 3 hours to enjoy. And I notice a very different flavor profile in comparison that you rush a cigar. Usually when you rush a cigar, it's gonna taste a bit bitter. It's gonna get warm and mushy in the fingers. The cigar will always give you signs that you're smoking it too fast. So what we recommend in the world of cigars, smoke, puff, about 30 to 45 seconds each puff. But it's not rocket science. Smoking cigars is not rocket science. Same thing like a pipe, it's not rocket science. It doesn't need to be, every 30 seconds counting in your head. No, it's about relaxing, right? It's not about the time, it's just an indication that I want to tell you guys, but it's not necessary in order to enjoy. If you want to puff faster, you puff faster. If you really enjoy that type of flavor out of the cigar, then do it. If you like to get everything out of the cigar, then of course, keep in mind, just enjoy and take your time. So, anyways, let's talk about how I got into cigars. Well, cigars in my family have been something for many, many years, and I have been smoking cigars ever since I was 16 years old. For me, it always has been a symbol of prestige, but I don't smoke them for that, right? I smoke them because it means something to me. From lighting up the cigar, to smoking the cigar, to finishing the cigar, it is just a very, very intriguing experience that you don't get with any other tobacco product. Second thing, it's all natural, or most cigars are all natural. Yeah, if you're looking at cigarellos or something like that, which I sometimes also smoke, it's kind of the same experience, but usually they're machine made and don't have the 100% tobacco rating all the time. Unless you go with like brands like Oliva or Pertagas or Ashton or Arturo Fuente, these premium cigarellos usually do use the same 100% tobacco rating as their normal hand-rolled cigars. But man, this is, for the price point that Placencia is at around, 14 to 30 bucks per cigar, this is a very, very, very interesting experience, and this is why I love Placencia so much, and this is why many cigar connoisseurs love Placencia. Same thing with Rocky Patel, right? You cannot go wrong with a Placencia or a Rocky Patel. They have everything for anybody. And start okay, they're starting a bit more high-end, 10, 12, 15, 20 bucks. And many people then say, I can buy a package of cigarettes for that amount of money, and I have 20 or 30 cigarettes. A cigarette is not a cigar. It is not handmade. It is artificial enhanced, usually. It's not 100% tobacco. You inhale that shit into your lungs. Now, of course, with a cigar, you also kind of passively inhale the smoke, kind of. But studies proven that that cigar smoking is actually more healthy than vape or cigarettes. So if you want to smoke something nice, you better smoke the best, right? So yeah, let's talk about the Placencia 151. Very, very creamy. I find it sweet and creamy with slight notes of dark pepper. Very, very nice in my humble opinion. So let's talk about the brands, right? So I mentioned a couple brands that I love. So Placencia is one of them. Rocky Patel, my most favorite go-to cigar for everyday basis. Oliva, right? You cannot never go wrong with Oliva. Oliva has many different cigar portfolios and many different years of experience in the world of cigars. Also a very good cigar to go for. If you're just starting out, go try something a bit more balanced, right? Like the Oliva Connecticut, maybe the Rocky Patel Blanc, or white actually, white label. Very easy cigars to get into, not too complicated, not too heavy on the stomach. And that's what you're kind of searching for in a cigar when you're first starting out. And if you don't have the money to spend, 12 to 15 bucks on a cigar in your first time, that's totally fine. You can smoke whatever you want. And same thing goes with cigar lounges and cigar communities. We regularly smoke together, and there is no snobism around cigars. What we want to try to do, and same thing with the watch collecting. Of course, there is kind of snobbery around watch collecting, unfortunately. But many in the community want you to feel welcome, want you to feel appreciated. And I feel in the cigar community, it is more of a community than a watch collector community. Cigar communities are in general much more relaxed. It doesn't matter what you're smoking, right? If you're smoking a, Flor d'Oliva, or you're smoking a blend or a flavored cigar, it's your thing, right? Don't let anyone influence you in discovering your own taste buds. Same thing that people say, explore. Don't always, tunnel vision yourself into one country, right? So many people say, I only smoke Cuban because the Cuban cigars are the best. Consider-wise, on paper, yes. But you're missing out on a lot of good cigars if you're only looking at Cuban. And just saying, explore. This is what the world is about. The same thing with food, right? You're not gonna eat Michelin star food all the time, right? Because it's boring. At a certain point, it's just boring, right? It's always the same principle. When I go and I eat out every single week. Once a week, we go to a restaurant. It's always a different type of cuisine because we enjoy variety. We have the luxury to explore variety, right? And it's just a shame that many people just have that tunnel vision. Only that is it and nothing else matters. And that's a wrong mindset because opportunities don't create themselves, right? If you explore, you will get more opportunities, or you will find more opportunities. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I just love this. It is something so simple, but it makes me the most joy out of all my hobbies, or addictions, how people call it. I don't see it as addiction. Maybe you see it as addiction. That's fine, right? You have your own opinion. I have mine. But let's, all respect each other and leave all those, hate and negativity behind. These days there's so much negativity around the world, people bashing other people for liking certain stuff. Don't do that. You come over as, sorry to say this, you're coming over as a rude, obnoxious person. And you don't want to have that reputation, ever. And this is what I noticed in the cigar world. There are many different types of people in this community. Whether it is, a beginner that's just starting out, or whether it's a connoisseur that has been smoking for 5, 7, maybe 20 years, we're all the same. And cigars are cigars. They're nice things. They're meant to be enjoyed. So don't fear of walking into your cigar shop or cigar boutique knowing nothing about cigars. I started out like that myself. I thought because I've only seen Cuban cigars back in the day. That's all there was. But then I saw, when I walked into the cigar lounge, all the humidors with Dominican cuties, with Honduras puros, with Nicaraguan cigars, and I enjoyed, I tried. Okay, of course there were cigars that I didn't enjoy, but it's kind of the same thing with taste, right? With colors and taste, there is no right or wrong. It's all about personal taste. Some people don't like champagne, but like cava. Some people like Prosecco than champagne. Some people prefer whiskey instead of cognac. Sometimes prefer Armagnac instead of cognac. There are so many different options, so many different varieties, so many different types. Just explore, try. If you never try, you don't exceed. And this is with everything in life. I noticed the more jumps I take, the more risk I took, the better my life became. And yeah, were there bumps in the road? Of course. You know, I'm a human too, right? I started this YouTube channel with barely 120 subscribers. Look at me now, over 5,700. And sometimes you gotta believe in yourself. Sometimes you gotta say, you know what? No matter what people think about me, I'm just gonna do my own thing. That's the problem these days with people. People want to belong to the crowd too much. They don't have any personal personality. I don't like that. And yeah, do you get judged or do you get looked at when you're lighting up a cigar in public? Yes, because it is not as common as, you know, a cigarette. You know, people, when they're seeing people smoke, they usually only see cigarettes. And maybe sometimes a cigar, but it's usually with older people and stuff like that. It's not associated with the younger generation. But you should be surprised how many young people enjoy the refinement of a premium hand-rolled cigar. Trust me. So this brings me to the next point of the video. What is the age that you should smoke cigars? Any age. So, first of all, I want to say, if you don't smoke, don't start smoking. But if you smoke, don't smoke artificial bullshit, right? And you better smoke the best, right? No matter which price point, every cigar is a cigar, right? But trust me, you would rather want to smoke something like this than a vape or a cigarette. And I know it gets, you know, you gotta give it time to get used to, right? It's not something you do over time, but it is something so enjoyable once you get the hang of it. And you will make mistakes, but that's kind of the point of life, right? You always make mistakes. Making mistakes is building yourself up, right? You gotta learn, you gotta adapt, you gotta explore. And once you are willing to take a leap of faith, you will see your life change. So of course, if you want to start smoking, do please wait until you're 18 and then think about the decision that you're making, because the cigar hobby is a rabbit hole, and I'm gonna explain it to you now. So when I became 18 and was allowed to buy cigars myself, I used to spend about $700 to $800 per month on cigars. And people might call me crazy, because it's kind of crazy, right? And every month I spend that amount, 700, 800, 900, sometimes even more. And I smoked very premium cigars every single day until they didn't become special anymore, right? You know, the Hoyo Montanari Epicure 2s, the Bertagas Vintage 2022, the Rare Melanio Viva or Maliva, the Arturo Fuente Opus series. You know, these are all cigars for momentous occasions, very special occasions. Padron 1964, classic. Padron is a very, very interesting brand, very high-end though, but beautifully crafted, many decades of experience. So if you want to try something not Cuban, Padron. Padron is, oh, ladies and gentlemen, on my birthday I'll always crack open a Padron. I always will light up a Padron. Padron is just so refined, it is complex, it has more flavors than any Placencia in the world. I'm not saying that this is a bad cigar. The Padron is just a tiny bit better, you know? But it's not what it's about. It's about the moment that you're celebrating. So right now I'm celebrating the end of the week. My, well, performance for the end of the week, right? And yeah, I enjoy smoking a cigar from time to time. I don't smoke every single day anymore. I used to, like I said, but now I enjoy a cigar even more because I have a deeper appreciation for the craft of cigars. So like I said, if you want to smoke every single day, keep it simple, right? You can switch a nice cigar within your rotation, but don't always smoke, you know, a $12 to $15 cigar every single day because it's not gonna be as special anymore. Same thing with going out to dinner, right? If you always eat refined cuisine, it's gonna become boring at times. Like I said, explore, discover, take a leap of faith. There is just something so relaxing on this. I cannot explain it to you guys. It's just... It's a world that is misunderstood by many people. Many people see it as a snobbish thing, an elite thing. It's associated with, yeah, usually more high-end markets, right? But everyone can get into it. You don't have to be wealthy to enjoy a good cigar. That's just kind of what we're trying to teach, and I'm not the only channel that has made a video about enjoying a cigar, right? There are many different companies that have a YouTube channel where you can enjoy, you know, them savoring cigars and explaining to you about the cigar and how they like it, how they don't like it. They never are snobbish. They want to teach people to get into it because at the end of the day, that's the core business. They're selling cigars. And, you know, it's just a very nice thing to do. Ashing the cigar, that's also a thing that I see a lot. There is no rule, by the way, but don't always put out the ash. You know, with a cigarette, you always have the cigarette to do away with the ash. You kind of want to do that in a later stage of the cigar because a lot of flavor is still coming from the ash that's burning. So with a cigarette you can do that, with a cigar you can't, or it's not recommended, or you know, you do what you want to do, right? I'm just a cigar enjoyer just like you, or if you click this video you're probably interested in starting. So there are no rules. You do what you want, right? And you will make mistakes, but you will learn from that, and you will prevent them in the future. So never be too afraid to start something. Always take a leap of faith. Of course, there are many different varieties of combinations. Like I said, we have the puros, or we have the blends. You have definitely very many variations of wrappers, and the wrapper is kind of what makes the cigar taste a certain way, right? So the wrapper is a huge part of the overall experience. You know, to have tobacco inside is also very important, but the wrapper usually adds a lot of depth because that's the thing that keeps the cigar together. Now I'm definitely noticing more black spice, more refined notes, and that's kind of the thing, how it goes with cigars usually. We're starting small from the end of the cigar, right? From the beginning of the cigar, pardon, till the end. The end is always a bit more, has a bit more punch than in the beginning. That's normal, and if you don't like that, you smoke the cigar until you're not comfortable enough anymore and just put it down. That's kind of how it is. You're not forced to smoke the whole thing. If you don't want to, that's your decision. No one's gonna look weird at you for not doing that. What people are gonna look at you is if you, well, quit the cigar and dump it in the ashtray like a cigarette. That is not appreciated because everyone else in the lounge is trying to enjoy their cigar, their purchase. And if you dip your cigar like a cigarette, it's gonna develop a lot of untasteful smells and it's gonna ruin the other experience for other cigar smokers. So don't do that, please. That's the only rule in general that cigars have. Besides that, you do your own thing. And at home, like here, you do your own thing. So I've been smoking for about almost 30 minutes. And I do think this is gonna take me about 3/4 of an hour to an hour. Yeah, and that's actually basically what cigar smoking is about. It's about exploring different options, right? And exploring how comfortable you are with your own cigar. That's kind of the fun thing about this hobby. It's really about exploring and getting to know yourself. Because everyone has a different taste palette, everyone has a different tolerance. There are people who can't stand cigars or have such a, different stomach that they just can't smoke it. It's too heavy. It's totally fine, right? Try. But there are many, mild cigars as well. So you don't always have to smoke medium to full body. I enjoy full-bodied cigars. I enjoy medium-bodied cigars. But sometimes during a coffee, I also enjoy a mild cigar. Because you don't always have to go heavy, right? So I think now is the perfect time to ash. So I'm gonna do that. There we go. And probably people are wondering, when do you remove the band? Well, I remove the band when I'm almost as close to the band, like this, right? Usually with the warmth, the adhesive that they use, it's all natural to, keep the binder together, usually comes loose all on its own. There we go. And now you have, again, an easy access to the rest of the cigar. And if you're noticing that the cigar is burning unevenly, right? What I mean with unevenly, if the cigar is burning all through the stick without the rest following, then it means that you have to relight the cigar. Never, if you notice that, and if you notice bad flavors, it means that the cigar is not lit correctly. That means the cigar is unlit evenly, and it will ruin the cigar experience. So the cigar will definitely tell you, hey, there is something not right. Then usually you pick up your lighter and relight it. There's no wrong way to relit a cigar. Just don't put the cigar with the toasted point all the way up to the flame. That's burning the tobacco too much and it's gonna gather bad taste. So, like I said in my Monte Cristo Line 2, Legrand Line 2 review, there are other brands that you can explore that are more affordable, but even DuPont has more affordable options. Like I said, MaxiJet, 290 euros. Not bad, right? But if you don't want to go to Bond, you can go Cassetti, you can go Colibri, you can go Eurojet, you can go whatever price point that you're feeling comfortable with it, right? I see many people use a basic torch lighter that costs 30, 40, 50 bucks. Because why do you always need to use the most expensive equipment, right? Same thing here. When I go out and I know that the place where I'm going to is safe, I usually bring my most expensive lighters. But if I were to go to a place where I've never been before and I don't know the crowd that's gonna sit there and I don't know the environment, I'm not gonna take, a 1,000 plus lighter to that. That's just asking for problems, right? So kind of feel the situation and trust your instincts. Yeah, Placencia is amazing. I definitely urge you to try that. So, will I upload more cigar smoking videos as I continue this channel? Yes, definitely. I really enjoy this so much, and I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am doing. It's nice just talking to you guys and enjoying one of my favorite hobbies. What I do notice exactly with Placencia is that every single cigar that I lit up from them burns evenly most of the time. Like there is no quality control issues. With Cuban cigars, I do notice sometimes when you lit up a Cuban cigar, no matter if it's a Cohiba, a Prataga, a Bolivar, a Monte Cristo, whatever, there are some quality issues that I find with Cuban cigars. Because they're so high in demand, they sometimes forget that, you know, meeting the demand is less important than producing a quality product. The tobacco is insane. The tobacco is very good, but an unlit cigar is just giving a, well, worse experience. So don't, you know, become mad if your Cuban cigar lits up unevenly. Sometimes it's just normal. And you just gotta re-toast the cigar, trying to lit all the places and smoke it until it's burning evenly again. But don't throw the cigar away. Never throw away a good cigar. That's just waste of money, right? Well, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna continue and finishing the cigar. If you have any more questions, reach down in the comments below, or I want to hear your guys' experience in the world of cigars. What type of cigars you have tried, and maybe I will try your suggestion next, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed indeed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out! Whoosh!